Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
I love talking about LCEF and the work that LCEF does because it supports, LCEF supports and strengthens the work of many congregations and other ministry schools as well. Mm-hmm. And we started LCEF, an LCEF account for our son right after he was born. He's a little lamb. He's a young investor. And now he's a student at a Lutheran school. So this story really it hits home for us, or for me, and excited to share that. So joining us in studio, Larry Crume, Chief Lending Officer for LCEF. Larry, thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here.
Share with us, I get excited about LCEF and sharing stories about it, but I'll let you share the story of what is the work of LCEF today?
Well, the Lutheran Church Extension Fund is here to provide support for the churches, the synods, congregations, schools, rostered church workers, and the organizations that are associated with it, primarily through providing low-cost loans, but also providing investment opportunities. And we also provide ministry support services to the organizations, whether it be capital campaigns, strategic ministry planning, and development opportunities.
And Lutheran schools are a part of that. Tell us about Lutheran schools and how they, how they are a part of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, a little bit of the background, the stats on Lutheran schools.
Well, just a few little tidbits. LCMS schools, believe it or not, through our early childhood, our elementary, and our high schools, they're the second largest parochial educational system in the United States. That includes about 1,150 early childhood centers, nearly 800 elementary schools, and about 80 Lutheran high schools. In addition to that, there are international schools. We have one in Shanghai, one in Hong Kong, and one in Hanoi, Vietnam, which I just returned from a trip to those.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about those in just a minute because they have some fun stories. A lot of us, a lot of us, maybe just me, I don't know, but I went to a parochial Lutheran school, and my school was tiny. I had 7 people in my graduating 8th grade class, but not all of these Lutheran schools are small.
No, they range in all sizes. Mm-hmm. In fact, the 10 largest LCMS schools in the United States have enrollments that range anywhere from about 800 in Oviedo, Florida, to over 1,800 at Faith Lutheran Middle and High School in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's really cool to have that kind of opportunity. I didn't, but a lot of kids do now, which is really cool. And Lutheran education is a very unique opportunity for kids, for these students. What makes Lutheran education so unique?
Oh, I guess I would have to say first and foremost, they're centered on Jesus and His grace that's demonstrated on the cross for every student. Secondly, they provide unique learning experiences where the kids that attend there are challenged to grow academically and to develop their spiritual relationship in the class and in the community and to those that they interact with. I think central to Lutheran education, it's a mission to help each child grow and to find his or her vocation, their calling.
And Lutheran schools serve more than just Lutheran students as well. How have Lutheran schools become an outpost to share the good news of Jesus?
In today's world, in our Lutheran schools, they aren't solely serving Lutheran children like they did back in the day. In fact, you'd probably be challenged to find any school that had over 50% Lutheran enrollment. So it absolutely has become an opportunity for the Lutheran elementary, high schools, early childhood centers to be an outpost, to be that beacon of light in their communities. It's not uncommon for unchurched and dechurched and even non-Christian parents to send their children to parochial schools.
Yeah. So LCEF has been involved in a lot of Lutheran schools, doing any number of things. You mentioned Concordia International School in Hanoi. So let's talk about Concordia Hanoi. What are some of the exciting things happening there right now?
What's really exciting there in Hanoi is it launched in 2010, 2011 in rented facilities. And then about 2015, LCEF was able to help provide the funding for the initial building for their PK to 8. They quickly have outgrown that, and we just came back from the dedication of Phase 2, which is arguably 5 years ahead of schedule.
Wow.
So the growth there has been fantastic. In a communist world, it's really refreshing to see what God can do.
We have, as you mentioned, we have a number of international schools, and it's great to have that partnership of LCEF to help those schools be successful. A number of schools here stateside as well have the support of LCEF. Would you like to share with us some of those schools here in the United States that have been helped by LCEF?
Well, most recently and most notably is in Pocatello, Idaho. We have the First Lutheran High School at Grace Lutheran High School. We also have just recently been working through the construction in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where they are building a new facility that's going to double the capacity of the preschool. This school has worked very well integrating itself as a community partner. We also provided funding for expansion of the playground equipment. It's going to be a really nice facility.
Very good. Playgrounds are important. I've
Yes,
learned
they
that
are.
over the last 6 years. Well, it's great to hear that these schools are able to reach out to their communities with the support of LCEF. And how does this work? Who makes this happen? Well, obviously we know that God is the one that makes it happen, but who is used in this process for LCEF to be able to support schools like this?
Well, I guess the easy answer to that is you are. You told me or told us that you opened an account for your son shortly after birth, and we appreciate that because those dollars, every invested dollar that we get from Lutherans, individuals, organizations that are affiliated with the LCMS, those dollars are what make these lending opportunities happen. And so we have been, loan demand has been pretty high lately. And so we can use every invested dollar that folks would entrust with us.
You talk about loan demand being high. What are some of the things moving forward that you're looking at?
Well, for instance, we just have worked on an expansion for another a project with the Milwaukee Lutheran High School Association. And then as they are just wrapping that up, they are now looking at a second opportunity there. We also are looking at providing funding or have just recently approved financing for the Colegio San Pablo in Montevideo, Uruguay.
Wow.
That school is looking to expand into a high school and, yes, even into a university in Montevideo. They are partnering with the Concordia universities, working alongside with the Concordias to expand that in a largely secular country.
That's
Wow.
exciting.
That is amazing. Talk a little bit more about this impact. I mean, we're talking about all these schools and investors being investors, and that being so important. But what is that real tangible impact, especially that the place in Paris? That's amazing.
Well, I think as we've talked about before, it's an opportunity for Lutherans to be a part of the world, to be a part of the communities on a micro scale, to make a difference, and that's being seen throughout the world, literally, and more locally here. We look at what's happening here in the St. Louis area, where we've got St. Paul in De Pere that's gone through a major expansion there. The opportunities are limitless. We're only limited by our lack of commitment, if you will.
So LCEF investors are important in this work, especially in supporting Lutheran schools, not just here in the States, but around the world as well. Tell us more about being an LCEF investor. I mentioned earlier that my son is a young investor. A little lamb has been doing that for, 6 years now, being an investor, my wife and I as well. But as I was thinking about that, as you were sharing the story about these schools, it's kind of neat to think that my son, who is a student in a Lutheran school, is, as a young investor, also supporting the expansion of Lutheran schools around the world as well. That'd be a fun conversation to have when we start talking about his account and his investments there as well. So let's talk more about being LCEF investors.
Okay. Well, we want LCEF to be in a position that we are able to provide the funding for the next school, the next organization, the next congregation who may have a need for it. So once we have an organization that borrows from us, if we don't have any investments in return, then it limits our ability to serve the next one that comes along. And with the demand that we are experiencing, our investors are able to get something that I don't think any financial institution has to offer. LCEF investors get what we call is a ministry dividend, in addition to a fair return on their investments.
To know that you're supporting gospel work like this, like Lutheran schools or other ministries that are being benefited by LCEF. How do we get more information about LCEF?
The best way to go is to either visit lcef.org, or you can call our investor service reps. They are at 800-843-5233. That's 1-800-THE-LCEF for short. You can also read about our ministry stories at interesttime.org. So I'd encourage any visits to lcef.org, or please give us a call.
Very good. Anything else to share as we wrap up our time together today, Larry?
I would like to thank all of our investors. Thanks for allowing us to help support the LCMS congregations or organizations and our church workers who are really doing the work of bringing the message of hope and forgiveness and new life that is found in Jesus Christ. And those who are not investors, please take a look. Become a part of something bigger in addition to great returns, and to get the opportunity to get that ministry dividend.
Larry Crume, Chief Lending Officer, Lutheran Church Extension Fund. Thanks so much for being our guest on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@kfuo.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.